Alright, here's the ascent of the MTS shuttle, boosted or launched on a Titan main rocket with Titan boosters to save costs. Kind of in a role-playing sense. The launch itself is actually very much straight on, because if you tilt too much, the thing becomes aerodynamically unstable and it has the tendency to flip over. So yeah, this is, by the way, the first flight of the MTS Mark II, which has a crew cabin and a little bit of an improved docking bay with some, you will see that later on, with a little bit of like some details, not really functional details apart from a few things, but just more for looks, so it looks more functional. So as you can see, we're still going pretty much straight up, just a slight tilt to the whatever. And as you can see, the boosters just ran out, but they're staying attached, and they will stay attached until around 39 to 40 kilometers. Then they will separate, and that's basically for aerodynamic stability. Otherwise, the rocket has the tendency to flip over, which again, the thing can actually survive it. I had a few occasions where it went wrong, and the shuttle itself could just fly back to the Space Center without problems, so there's no risk of death. But yeah, I mean, if you plan a mission, it's good to just fly this way, because this is the most stable way of doing it. So we're now coming, yeah, now the boosters separate, and basically I want to go at around 75 kilometers altitude, which turns out to be like, I think, 78 kilometers, as this is a post-commentary thing, which is the first time I'm doing this, by the way. Anyway, I now let the SAS kind of hold the prograde marker, and as you can see, it goes quite slow, so at some point I turn the RCS on, which I think about now, and I'm taking manual control. As you can see, there's also RCS thrusters in the wings for more RCS stability if you do a rendezvous with a station or something. The craft has about, I don't know, I think it really depends on which version. This version does not have as much monopropellant because it's the prototype of the Mark II. But in the regular full functional version, it will have 250 units of monopropellant. So you've got plenty of space to work around with when it comes to rendezvousing with your station. And it has a lot of liquid fuel on board as well, as you only need a very little amount of liquid fuel to deorbit, because it's designed to do an unpowered landing, although I on occasion have more than enough liquid fuel to actually do a powered landing as well. So yeah, circularizing here right now, the Titan rocket is not very powerful, so it takes a little longer than I'd like, but it is a lot more efficient, and the entire rocket itself, including the orbiter, doesn't cost more than 68,000 funds to launch. So I'm just using this configuration because it's very cheap as well. So as you can see, I'm past the apoapsis, and I don't like that. And this is why I'm pointing up just slightly. So at some point, the apoapsis gets pushed forwards again in front of me, which is just a little bit of a better thing to do. So yeah, circularization takes a while, and as you can see, by the way, the apoapsis is now in front of me again. You can see that at the upper left corner, you can see time to apoapsis, which is Kerbal Engineer. You can see the time goes up, which means that the apoapsis is being pushed away. So we're now getting close to the periapsis coming up. I cut the power because I didn't want the apoapsis to get too high. And I'm just slightly circularizing again, and I'm just waiting until I get to close to the apoapsis, when I will decouple. I will just boost just a little bit more, and now I'm going to decouple so that the main tank will fall back to Kerbin. It won't really, because in the map, because it's not rendered, so it will not, like, physics is not rendered on the thing, so it will just keep on orbiting. So I kind of like manually terminate that flight, because it would re-enter in this case. So yeah, I'm kind of waiting to get to the apoapsis. The RCS can be turned off right now for orientation because the reaction wheels are strong enough to rotate the craft itself. I forgot to stage the engines at this point, and I was now throttling up, but it was a little late. But I managed to get a reasonable circular orbit anyway, at 75 kilometers. And here we are in orbit. So yeah. Let me just show around the cargo bay. I'm also going to do an EVA just to show around a little bit. And yeah, I've got a few mods installed for the docking port, but the thing the docking port is mounted on is the RCS tank, which is completely empty. It's just there, so I can put the RCS tank up. Also, there is a empty fuel tank going from the main crew cabin to the RCS tank, which could kind of be like a transfer tunnel, so you can get to the docking port if you go to a station. Then there is a small fuel tank at the back of the cargo bay and 2 solar panels inside the cargo bay, and then the 2 batteries attached to the crew cabin. So I think I'm getting ready for an EVA, so let's get out and turn the lights on. Well, that's a little bit too bright actually. And yeah, let's just go and fly around the shuttle a little bit. So this is the Mark II. Like I said, it has a crew cabin, which is the only basic difference to the Mark I. So it can carry a little bit more crew to a station. Otherwise it could only carry 2, which was not really what I like. And yeah, so the 2 of these, I forgot what these engines are, but they're very efficient for this design. They're not too big, and basically were the only ones that would look good and had attachment points, so I could like add the decouplers to them. So yeah, just flying around the shuttle, just showing around once again. It's a pretty good looking craft in my opinion. Although I do think the nose is a little stubby, but it has a certain appeal to it as well. This thing was inspired by the Dream Chaser shuttle that they're making in real life. And so yeah, that's what it's based on. Flying around the nose. Oh, going down a little too fast there. I just wanted to show the cargo bay just a little bit more, so I'm just screwing around with the orientation of the kerbal, but it doesn't stay at the orientation. It wants to go back to that straight up orientation. So when I'm getting close to the cargo bay, I'm rotating to the yeah, like that, to the cargo bay. Just to show you, so you see that orange thing is tank with some monopropellant and some liquid fuel oxidizer, and then there are 2 batteries and the PAS docking port from another mod. For the rest, it's pretty much stock, this thing, apart from tweak scale, because the small landing gear doesn't work. It just bounces too much, so I use the small to medium size wheels, and I scale them down so they're same size as the small wheels, and those don't bounce. So that's the way I did that. So yeah, that's the shuttle. Let me just show you a little bit of the interior view. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Obviously you know these interior views, but just to show you a little bit of the scale of this thing. Let me just transfer myself, because I named my kerbals to my own real name, to the passenger cabin. So yeah, it's actually quite a big shuttle if you think about it. It can carry 6 crew, so yeah. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed.